Rarely do you have this kind of hype around a UFC fight weekend that's not a pay-per-view. But this week, that's exactly what we have. Welcome into the award-winning Combat Coach, powered by the Coach Picks. Follow us on social media, everything sports betting at the Coach Picks. And you know my guy. You know my partner. He's the hottest MMA handicapper in the world. For all of his best bets, go watch our episode of The Early Edge, released 3:30 Eastern on Thursday. But this is the show, Ian Parker, that we break down every single fight. You kind of give us your expertise, and then people can use the information and take it themselves. How are you after two amazing weekends the last 2 weeks?
Feeling great. No, super healthy. Super healthy. I'm ready. No, I'm good. Look, when it comes to this sport, you're only as good as your last fight card. We want to show everyone we're the best. We've been the best, and we're going to continue to be that way. Moving on to this week. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, just in our straight picks from here on what he thought would happen, 11-1. In his best bets, 5-1 with the parlay. Last week, 4-1 on the early edge with the parlay, and also a little combate best bet main event that Ian Parker hit as well. It's not flipping a coin, people at home. It's about expertise, it's about preparation, and it's about knowing the sport. So rely on those that know, and my guy knows it better than anybody. So let's jump right in. We got 12 fights this week. The main event is Mr. Cory Sandhagen taking on TJ Dillashaw. And before I get into the picks, explain to the people at home why this is such a anticipated fight and why there's so much on the line for both guys. Two sides of the coin here. We'll start off with Cory Sandhagen. This is a fight where, to get the biggest name on his resume, he's getting this fight at the right time. He wins this fight, and if he wins it in dramatic fashion, he's the number one contender for the belt. On the other side of the coin, TJ Dillashaw, former champ. We have not seen him since the loss. We haven't seen him since his EPO positive test. Is this true to form? Is TJ going to be the same dominant fighter? Is he going to be the same type of contender champion off the sauce? We don't know. We're going to find out. I think that's what everyone is curious about. And he's going to get an extremely tough test, like in the worst possible matchup to come back to, whether it was just even an injury time off, but to not know where he's really at without that stuff, we are going to find out. And that's why both sides means a lot.
Yeah, both sides are really talking this week. TJ Dillashaw telling my guy Brett Okamoto that he just wants to put this in the past. Easier said than done. How do you do it? You win clean. Sandhagen on the other side, he's a beast. And he says he's not under any preconceived notions that he can't be the best. And he wants to be the best. He wants the ESPYs, he says. He wants to be in the Hall of Fame, UFC Hall of Fame. He wants it all. But to have it all, you got to win fights like this weekend. You got to step up when the lights are the brightest. So we'll get to that main event pick coming up at the end. But we go step by step, fight by fight. 12 scheduled fights on the card this week. Let's start with the prelims and a women's bantamweight fight. Diana Belbitsa, minus 115, 110 now. Hannah Goldie, minus 110. Translation, this is an even fight. The over 2.5, a minus 305. That means Vegas expects it to go the distance. What do you like?
I expected to go the distance too. Both women not known for finishing. However, I will lean Hannah Goldie here. I do think she is the more physically gifted fighter, stronger, more athletic. It's more about the pressure. If she's going to sit back and wait to counterpunch, she's not going to win. If she applies the pressure, puts in that volume striking that we've seen before, I think this will be a good fight for her. So I'm going to go with Hannah Goldie here.
All right, very good. Fight number 2, also in the women's division, bantamweights. Ziara Eubanks, minus 350. A big-time favorite. Elise Reed, plus 270 coming back at you. The over 2.5, minus 150. What do you like?
Yeah, up until the last fight, Eubanks looked great. She put the striking together. Her submission game is really, really strong. She's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I think she now understands how to put it all together. Her IQ is risen, and this is a good fight for her to come back to, so I like Ziara Eubanks here.
All right, very good. And at minus 350, you would probably put her in a parlay, correct?
100%. Yeah, 350 is too high. As confident as I am in her, parlay is the way to go for this one.
Yeah, for those of you that are brand new to the show or brand new to MMA betting, welcome, first of all. But you just heard Ian say it's too high. Our baseline is minus 200. Anything below that, we feel like we can bet it straight. It's a little different than the other sports. Anything above that, we always try to position in either a prop or put it into a parlay. Okay, let's go fight number 3 on the prelim card. Julio Reyes minus 200, taking on Andre Ewell, plus 170. This is in the featherweight division. The over 2.5, minus 235. So Vegas thinks this one could go the distance as well. What do you like?
I like Arce here. I think with Ewell, he's not a bad striker. He's a good fighter. He's sometimes too hesitant. He tends to lose the first round and then fade, or he does really well in the first round and get fade. He's just not a full 3-round complete fighter. Too many close fights. Arce, in my opinion, is better everywhere. There's a reason why he's minus 200. And I think where he will be best here is putting his combinations and getting the fight to the ground. As a better wrestler, he'll have the control. So I like Arce here. At the minus 200, this fight is I don't think he should have been this high as a favorite. So if you are going to play him, I would put him in a parlay. This is one of those times where that baseline is really walking a fine line. I would have had him in more of minus 175 here. So I do like Arce. Parlay if you want to play it.
All right, very good. That protects you a little bit if he doesn't win. That's another thing that the parlay does for you. All right, fourth fight on the night. Adrian Yanez, minus 220, taking on Randy Costa, plus 180. These are bantamweights. Over 1.5, minus 130. What do you like?
I like Adrian Yanez here. Both these guys, knockouts in the last couple of fights. The difference here, I just think Yanez puts it together a little bit better. I also think he's better in different areas like the grappling, the takedown defense. I also think that the guys that he fought kind of give a little more of a challenge than who Randy Costa has fought. And again, even though these guys are young in the sport, Yanez has just done more throughout his career. This is how far I do tape study, Contender Series, back to when he's fighting on the circuits. I just like Yanez as the better prospect. It doesn't mean Costa doesn't have a career. He will. He is very solid, but between the two, I like Yanez. Minus 220, again, a little high. That line originally was minus 185 where I got it straight, but at 220, parlay it. Over 1.5 is an interesting play because both guys like to knock people out. So I would probably stay away from that.
Okay. I was just thinking out loud, how many other cappers actually do tape study before every fight? I'm waiting.
Well, they might claim they do, and maybe they do, but listen, different strokes for different folks.
Stop it. They don't. Okay, here we go. Fifth fight on the card. We're still on the prelim card here. We're going to Imavov is plus 130 as the dog. Heinisch, minus 150 is a favorite. The total over 2.5 comes in at minus 220. What do you like?
I like Ian Heinisch here. This is a guy who's got great wrestling, good cardio. His striking is a little wild, which is what Imavov kind of does. The difference between the two, Heinisch has a different level of pressure. He also has fought way higher competition than Imavov really has. Imavov struggled against Jordan Williams, got a split decision, and then he also lost by split to Phil Hawes, who just gassed out at the end. If Ian Heinisch fights the way that I've seen him fight at his best, he should be on minus 200, but because he's kind of fell a little bit, that's why we're getting a line here. Take advantage of minus 150 with Ian Heinisch.
All right, very good. So we're taking the dog right there. Now, at least the way the UFC is laying this out, there are 6 prelim fights, and then there are 6 main card fights, which is a little bit, usually only 5. So I like that. So this will be the final prelim fight. Soriano, minus 115. Brendan Allen, minus 105. Essentially a toss-up on paper, but what do you say?
I like Soriano here. With Brendan Allen, very, very good on the ground. However, sometimes he gets caught trying to prove to the world that he's equally as good as a striker. And against someone like Punahele Soriano, you're in for a nightmare. The dude has power. He's got cement for hands. That's all I keep hearing from his camp. This guy hits harder than anybody he has ever seen in that weight class. He's also a national wrestling champ, so we know he's got good takedown defense. If Allen can't get the fight to the floor, he's in trouble. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think Soriano gets it done at minus 115.
Yeah, they always try to put a really good even fight as the last fight of the prelims, and this looks to be just that. All right, let's move on to the main card now, and the first name here is a name that kind of became famous for fighting CM Punk, and that's Mickey Gall, but he's an underdog in this fight, plus 150, taking on Jordan Williams, minus 170 as a favorite. The over 2.5, minus 115. The under is the same, so essentially a push there. What do you like in the first fight on the main card?
I'll be honest, I don't like this fight at all either way. It's kind of, it's not often that you'll hear me say that. I just don't understand the minus 170 from Jordan Williams in this situation because I don't know what he's done to show me that he's beating a guy, Mickey Gall. He hasn't fought anyone that Gall has fought. Gall has fought the Mike Perrys. Outside of the CM Punk, Mickey Gall has fought tougher competition. If you want to play this fight, if you want to get a little frisky on the main card, I would actually go with Mickey Gall plus 150. I think between the two, Gall's striking is decent enough to get him into the clinch and get this fight to the floor. My only issue with Gall is he kind of tends to fade, but so does Williams from what we've seen from him lately. So if you want to play this, I say roll the dice on the dog at plus 150.
People ask me all the time for advice on what I've learned in the sports betting world. I can tell you this, and I still don't practice this, but sometimes the best bets that you make are the bets that you don't make. And in MMA, that's very, very difficult because you want to bet every fight because it's fun. But sometimes you got to stay away, and that's what Ian just told you. All right, let's move on now. Women's flyweight matchup, Miranda Maverick. She's a minus 155 favorite over Macy Barber, underdog at plus 135. The over is 2.5, minus 210. What do you like?
I like Miranda Maverick here, but let me start off, with Macy Barber and break her down a little bit. Barber was on a tear. Everyone thought she was the next big star in the division. Ran into Roxy Montefiore, who's a veteran of the sport, who was like plus 700 or something crazy. Or I'm sorry, Macy was minus 800. She got absolutely dominated that fight. Tore ACL, out for a long time. Comes back, has another really difficult fight against a really good striker. She loses. Nothing changed with the way she fought. She bounces from gym to gym. And, nowhere she really calls home, and she's very young. So you would think like she would try to maneuver and understand, and it's just not sticking with her. You bounce over to Miranda Maverick, who's also very young. She's still I think she's chasing her doctorate or her master's while she's doing this. And she comes to the UFC. She wins by TKO. Her second fight against Jillian Robertson, we want to see her face adversity. And Robertson is one of the better grapplers in the division in jiu-jitsu, and that happened in the first round. She out-grappled Miranda Maverick. Maverick bounced back in rounds 1 and 2 with her striking, positioning, her scrambles, and out-grappled Jillian Robertson, which is what she could do here. She'll be the better striker, better grappler, and I think she's the smarter fighter. I don't think Macy Barber has learned anything from her losses, unfortunately. Miranda Maverick should be minus 200. Give me her at minus 155 all day in this matchup.
Oh, I love when we can use the word value at 45 to 50 cents on the dollar. I love that with Maverick. All right, let's move on. The ninth fight of the night. Darren Elkins, minus 130. Derek Minner, plus 130. Minner's a favorite at minus 155. The total over 2.5 is minus 125. These are featherweights. What do you like?
Someone earlier in the week said to me when it came to Darren Elkins, his tattoo on his chest says damage and it should be changed to damage. All right. Unfortunately, that's the way Elkins fights. He's so hesitant. He looks for the brawls. His grappling has gotten slower. Derek Minner is kind of bursting onto the scene, got as an underdog. Like TJ Laramie, he won that fight. And I think Minner's just really coming into his own here. This is an interesting fight this early in his career, but I'd like Minner to get it done.
Okay, Minner at minus 155. All right, just 3 fights left because we always try to do the show in 20 minutes or less because we know you at home do not have time to waste. Let's go. Kyler Phillips, minus 275, a big-time favorite here over Paiva? I always mess it up. Paiva? Tell me, Cody, jump in here real quick. I don't want
Paiva.
There you go, Paiva. Cody is always our baseline for pronunciations. We never want to disrespect any fighter by butchering his name or her name. All right, Paiva, thank you. Plus 220. The over 2.5, minus 225. What do you like?
I like Kyler Phillips here. I really do. This is a guy who's a strong wrestler. The striking is catching up. His cardio, his pressure can be too much for Paiva. We saw in his last fight, Phillips was an underdog, and he was absolutely fantastic. He just keeps getting better and better. He's a guy to really keep your eye on in this division. So at minus 275, parlay, but I think he's going to be one of those guys that shines brightest on Saturday night.
If you go and watch our Early Edge Best Bet episode, I have a feeling you're going to see Phillips' name somewhere on that particular page.
Just might.
I'm guessing. I know the host. All right, it's time for the co-main event of the evening. Aspen Ladd, minus 200 favor of Macy Chiasson, plus 170. The total over 2.5, minus 165. These are women bantamweights. A lot of female fights on this card. I'm here for it. What do you like?
Yeah, Coach, when I saw the minus 200 from Aspen Ladd, I kind of fell out of my chair a little bit, and that's no disrespect to her, but this is somebody who got knocked out by GDR, that comes back and beats Ayana Kunitskaya, who Kunitskaya has gotten a lot better since then, right? So, she kind of maybe got her at the right time, but then she tore both knees. This is someone who's very young. coming off a double knee surgery, been out for a long time. And in her game, we've seen she's a good grappler. When she gets on top, she's physically strong, but her striking is just so telegraphed and it's slow. I got to be honest. It's very obvious. And she gets tagged a lot. And we saw that with GDR. Macy Chiasson, I think, is one of the more underrated fighters in this division. I think what happened with her prospectus is it slowed down when she lost to Lena Landsberg as a heavy favorite. She then bounced back. She won 3 in a row, going for her 4th here. She's going to be the better striker. Okay, she's also with Fortis MMA. She's with a really strong camp with a great coach. You know, if she could kind of keep the distance and turn this to a boxing match, she wins. If she could get into a scramble, end up on top, she wins. So at plus 170, it's really hard to ignore that. If you would have asked me before the injury, an Aspen lad, I would understand the minus 200 fighting the higher level competition, but double knee surgery, styles make fights, plus 170, I'll take Macy.
There is no question that double knee surgery slows down the quickness, the power, the base, all of that. It just slows it down and takes away a lot of the power as well. All right, we have arrived. Main event of the evening. And I love when Buffer gets in there and gets that face going. He goes over and he fist pounds the two fighters and all that. I'm here for it. And I'm here for this main event because to have a really great main event, you got to have a great storyline. You've got that. Sandhagen, a beast, had a bad loss against Aljamain Sterling and then came back and says, I'm never losing again. I want to be in the Hall of Fame. On the other side, you got TJ Dillashaw, one of the great fighters in the history of the UFC 2 years ago. And then it all stopped. He gets popped for using steroids and now sitting out for 2 years. He comes back and says, I'm going straight back to the top. It could be one of the great comeback stories of all time. But only one storyline can't continue after Saturday night. So, Cory Sandhagen, minus 195. TJ Dillashaw in a place that he's not familiar with. The big-time underdog, plus 165. Ian Parker, talk to me.
It's so hard to really gauge what TJ Dillashaw we're going to get here. It really is. 2-year layoff in general says a lot about a guy. He's never experienced that in his entire career. On top of that, he was fighting dirty. All right. He, I think, is getting the worst matchup stylistically for him coming off a break. If anything, I would have hoped he would have gotten maybe a Frankie Edgar, you know, a big name, better stylistically for him. You know, Sandhagen, fast, rangy, has that same hop, skip, and a jump footwork that they kind of, I think, replicated from Dominic Cruz. You know, they have that same very unpredictable striking style. Both of them are good wrestlers, you know, but I think the better jiu-jitsu practitioner, the better scrambler of the two will be Cory Sandhagen. I also think he's more creative. His confidence is through the roof. I don't know if TJ Dillashaw, how you can be confident. I really don't. And if he is, direct me to your psychologist or whatever it is, because to be fighting like that for so long and to be out for a while, everyone's thinking the same thing. I get it. You want to put it in your past, but we're not going to let you do that because what you did was as wrong as it gets in the sport. You know, now I don't even want to focus on that. I want to focus on Cory Sandhagen because what he's done to me is so much more impressive. When you're that young, you get to the top for the first time, you get submitted very quickly when most people had you in that fight. And instead of falling down, instead of, you know, why me, woe is me, he got better. He just set it back, move forward. If that makes any sense. Yeah, I meant like he rewound the clock mentally, got it back, and knows what he got to do. 2 awesome finishes against 2 high-level fighters. Coming into this fight, it's the best Cory Sandhagen we've seen. He's rising at the right time. He's getting TJ at the right time. TJ's getting him at the wrong time. Cory Sandhagen, I believe, is your winner. And I also believe he is the next champ in the division when he does get that shot.
Wow, that is big time. And I tell you what, I would encourage any of you to go to Brett Okamoto's social media. There's an incredible interview with Sandhagen there. And you'll really see what this dude is all about. And he's all about one thing, being the absolute best. And it drives me crazy when you hear people say, oh, that loss was good for him or her. But in this instance, it really was. It really was. It was great for him. And then on the other side, TJ Dillashaw also did a very candid interview with Brett Okamoto. And he's as confident as he's ever been. And that's saying something with what he's put himself through. He put himself through that. And now he's got to pull himself out of it, which makes for great fights. And that's what we're here for. All right, quickly, let's run through the recap of all of the breakdowns that Ian Parker gave. So first fight out of the gate, we like Hannah Goldie, very gifted, more athletic, and not even a huge favorite. So you're getting a really good number there. Then the second fight, Eubanks put her in a parlay minus 350, way too high. Then Arce, minus 200, we like that. You are way too hesitant in this fight. Then Yanez, minus 220, a different kind of fighter over Costa. Probably want to put him in a parlay as well. Then Heinisch, minus 150 in a middleweight. He's a dog. Got a lot of dog in him. Then final prelim fight. We like Soriano, minus 115. Then let's go to the main card. Mickey Gall, if you have to. Ian says, you know what? I just like you just to stay away from this fight. Let's just stay away. Then Miranda Maverick, minus 155. Ian says should be closer to minus 200. Then Derek Minner, minus 155. We like him. Kyler Phillips, put him in a parlay. And then in the co-main event, Macy Chiasson, plus 170 is the underdog. We love the value here. And then, as he just said, in the main event of the evening, we love Cory Sandhagen, minus 195. Let's bet it straight and take all of these tickets. You know where. You know where. All right, any final words before you head into what we believe will be a third straight dominating week in MMA?
Enjoy the fights, follow the plays. Don't get crazy. Don't get complicated. You don't need to bet every single fight. All right. Play with house money. If you want to take your risk, right to the pay window.
That's damn right it is. All right. We're settling in. Don't forget, follow my man on social media because he may or may not release a very special best bet on Saturday right before the fights. You just never know. All right, we love doing it. We do it for you. We grind. My man Cody Merrow on the ones and the twos, doing an amazing job as our executive producer of the brand. And we're done. We do it all in 22 minutes or less. But today there was a lot of information. All right, for Ian Parker in the Duck Army, I am the coach. Remember, there is no better place in MMA than right here on Combat Coach. Good luck this weekend, and we'll see you, as Ian said, right over there at the pay window. Good luck.